Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so this week we are going to continue our review of Shepherd the Flock of God, the Secret Elder's Manual. That'll be the last time he does that. So, first of all, I don't like this setup at all.
Yeah.
You're on my side.
Yeah, I don't feel like
this is the beauty of movie magic. Gross.
Ew.
No. Honey! Get! Let's try that again. Stop. That's better.
Let's do it.
To do another review of Shepherd the Flock of God, the Secret Elder's Manual.
Just kidding.
Thank you. Originally we were going to review the medical policies, but you know what?
Boring.
It's horribly boring. And depressing once you start realizing how many people have died from lack of blood.
Lack of common sense.
That too. So instead, we are going to review the offenses that can cause you to land in the back room.
Oh.
Okay, that's not the same back room as like a porn shop.
Oh.
And we're also going to talk a little bit about apostasy. If you are unaware, and I know you've heard a little bit about it.
I know nothing about what's going on. Ever.
On this planet.
Yes.
In every kingdom hall there is a B room. I used to think it's
They call it the B room.
Well, yeah, you have A room, which is the big room, and then you have the B room.
It's all right and bad.
It can be bad.
Yeah.
The B room is used for a number of things. Let's say you have a young speaker, somebody who's like 8 or 9, and he's doing his first talk. Well, instead of putting him on the big stage in the A hall, they...
The A hole.
Okay. Without the accent, it's an A hall.
A hole. Okay.
I don't remember if they announced go to the B hall. I think you just know when the music starts. People want to go to the B hall. They go back there, and it's just a smaller setting. It's not that funny.
No, like if they first had it built and like a bunch of people came in and said, wow, what an a-hole.
No, it's an A-hall.
Nice a-hole.
Anyhow. So that's what the B hall is for. The other thing that it can be for is like when babies start crying, the mom might take them back there. It does not disturb other people. Some B halls have a window so you can see what's going on. And then there's a curtain when you want to draw the curtain and there's other talks going on in there. And that's where the disfellowship people often get to sit.
I've seen that where everybody was sitting in, you know, in the church or whatever you want to call it and having their Sunday thing.
Or Tuesday.
And there was a big window.
Or Thursday. Yeah.
And it seemed rather like embarrassing and really jacked up to do something like that. It's like putting an animal on display in a zoo.
Because the idea is to shame you into coming back. So that's what the B hall is, not the B hole.
B hole.
B hall.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Say both.
Both.
Say it without the L.
Both.
Never mind. So the B hall can also be used for judicial committees. Unless you're lucky, you might have a library. We had a little separate office at one point.
Lord knows they wanted privacy.
And that's where the judicial committee occurs. And the judicial committee is for what they find offensive and want to talk to you about. So we are going to talk to you about today what can land you in the B hole.
Gotcha.
B hall. So this chapter is determining whether a judicial committee should be formed.
Like, oh, you did such a good job. You brought in 10 more people.
No, you don't ever get that.
Really? No pats on the back?
No certificates, no awards.
That would not be for me. You're always saying, oh, you'd be sucked in so easily. Not if you don't get certificates and awards.
That's not true. You get to live forever in a paradise on earth with everybody you don't necessarily love.
Yeah, but you still don't get rewarded.
That's your reward. You get to eat fruit, farm land, build houses, and...
Candy? Pizza?
No.
Pizza?
No.
Meatball sandwiches?
No.
Pasta fazool? Eggplant parmesan?
No. Offenses requiring review. All right. So these are offenses that may require review by a judicial committee. This is not a comprehensive list. Look how this is like one of the thickest chapters. Their child molestation policy isn't even this thick, but their policy
Was it
list,
like one paragraph?
no, it had a couple pages. I mean, it actually made a chapter this year, but this is everything
That's not something you'd go into the B hall over, though, is it? Child molestation. They kind of...
Well, no, they'll talk to you about it.
Oh, yeah.
So, sexual immorality, pornea.
Oh! I remember this.
So, this is one of Gary Bro's favorite subjects in the Pillowgate videos.
Is that the guy that said it's okay for two guys to stand in the same room and masturbate? That's not pornea.
Two brothers masturbate in front of each other, but without touching each other. Is it pornea? The answer is no.
So pornea, by definition, involves the immoral use of the genitals, whether in a natural or in a perverted way, with lewd intent. How do you use your genitals in a natural way with lewd intent? Oh, I guess if... Never mind. I got it. There must have been another party to the immorality, a human of either sex or a beast.
I'm your horse, not your wife.
It is not a casual touching of the sex organs. When...
I don't...
Have you ever been in the workplace and somebody casually touched your sex organs?
No.
Why are you not saying that with a straight face?
I'm trying to...
What do you do for a living? Okay, it's not casual touching of the sex organs, but involves manipulation of the genitals. I'm going to need them to define to me the difference between a sex organ and the genitals. Because
and manipulation. I'm going to manipulate your genital. Well...
It includes oral, anal, and manipulation of the genitals between individuals not married to each other. That's interesting here. It says, it includes oral sex and anal sex between individuals not married, except that we know that oral and anal is not allowed when you are married.
It's definitely not a religion for me.
Okay, but here's what it says. Pornea does not require skin-to-skin contact. How are you manipulating somebody's genitals if you're not...
If you got the force.
Do you feel manipulated?
Yes, I do.
Pornea does not require skin-to-skin contact, copulation as in penetration or sexual climax. So I'm going to need some of your guys' help because I would like to know how you are...
Who the hell wrote this? Do they have an author? God.
Jehovah wrote this. Stop that. So if somebody can explain to me how pornea involves the immoral use of the genitals.
Manipulation.
Let me get there. Manipulating the genitals, but does not require skin-to-skin contact.
Genitals.
Copulation, penetration, or sexual climax. I'm very confused because Gary Bro did say in that thing that you could be manipulating your own genitals in front of another man who's manipulating his own genitals.
Yeah.
And that's not pornea, but then here it says pornea does not require skin-to-skin contact. I feel, you know why Jehovah's Witnesses aren't having sex? Because they've made it so damn confusing.
It's confusing.
Is this pornea? Is this?
Is this? Can I do this?
Oh, don't do that. It feels porneic.
It's outrageous.
Oh, no. I'm going back. Immoral use of conveys the thought, not just of touching, but of operating, manipulating, or employing something. For example, it's one thing to touch a musical instrument. It's something different to make use of a musical instrument.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Oh, and this one time, at band camp, I stuck a flute in my pussy.
What the hell are they doing with musical instruments?
The trombone.
Next.
The divine flute, which is actually an instrument.
That's what you tried to tell me on our first date. Lewd intent identifies the motive. We all know what intent is. And manipulation conveys the idea of operating something, whether by the use of hands or some other means. I didn't touch his penis with my hands, brother. I used my feet. I used the crease of my elbow.
I used a stick.
But again, it does not require skin-to-skin contact. Momentarily touching of another's genitals, even if intentional,
Well,
would not be considered pornea. You know what? This is why so many young people end up in the beat hall, because it's confusing. You're like, well, I had lewd intent and I touched her nipple for a minute, but it was only for a moment, so it's not pornea.
Yeah.
It is very confusing. I always thought that I knew what sexual immorality was, and now I'm very confused. Because number 4 says masturbation of oneself is not pornea. This is interesting. One who was raped would not be guilty of pornea.
Well, wow.
How kind.
How kind.
Discernment is needed in considering claims of rape, taking into consideration such factors as the mental disposition of the person, the circumstances that led up to the incident, and any delay in reporting. Well, let me argue a couple things here. All right, so they're going to decide if a person is guilty of pornea when she was raped or if she's a victim based on her mental disposition, which could be how many cocktails she had beforehand, the circumstances that led up to the rape. So like if she was leading him on and then said no, 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 well, circumstances leading up to it, we kind of understand why he raped you. Because if you did lead him on anyway, then you might be guilty of being raped. Porneic. And then finally, any delay in reporting. Well, that's kind of funny because I don't remember what the statistic is.
It's huge.
It's something like, it's a very large percentage, and it's funny, I was actually...
People don't immediately...
They don't report actually until they're adults.
And it takes
usually.
years, years.
Or like a child won't report till they're an adult, and a lot of rape victims do not report right away. So that means they could very easily say, you know what, you must have been party to this and really wanted it because you took 2 days to let us know about it.
Yeah.
You're going to the B-hole.
A-hole.
When determining if an individual is guilty of pornea, it's important to establish the facts. This is especially true when spiritual freedom to remarry is involved.
What?
So, my parents are not allowed to marry other people. If they do, then that's considered sexual immorality. Because even though they've been divorced, they didn't have grounds for divorce, according to Joe's witnesses. You can only get divorced if someone cheats on you, or, he calls it. When an elder is uncertain, or they're divided on their conclusions, it's best to write the service department.
Yes.
If at least 2 eyewitnesses report that the accused stayed all night in the same house with a person of the opposite sex, or with a known homosexual.
Do they have anything better to do with their lives than to... Oh, they got there at 7, p.m. and left at 7 a.m.?
Consider an example when the judicial action would be warranted. A married brother spends an inordinate...
Enormous?
A married brother spends an inordinate... I know how to say that. Inordinate. A lot.
Where is it? I don't even have my glasses
Of
on.
time with his female secretary after work, but insists there's no romantic interest. His concerned wife informs the elders, who give him strong counsel. Later, he claims to be leaving overnight for a business trip. His suspicious wife and a relative follow him to the secretary's home. They observe the secretary invite him in at 10 p.m., and they watch all night until he leaves at 7 in the morning.
Ooh, yeah, that's...
You've got 2 witnesses. So, that's the kind of 2 witnesses you need.
Is that what they put down?
Yeah. They're going to ask, is the couple pursuing a romantic relationship? Where did they sleep? Did they have a choice in the matter, or were they're extenuating circumstances? And sometimes that can happen. You can have extenuating circumstances. Anyways, we're going back to the 2-witness rule, which we know none of these wrongdoings can get you into the B-hall unless you admit to it, or you have two witnesses. Any of you who are current Jehovah's Witnesses, please remember this. If they accuse you of something, you say no. Because they have to produce 2 witnesses for anything to happen. That's it. Lie. Jay the comedian did it all the time. No, I didn't touch that girl. He did. Ask him. What? No. You got 2 witnesses? No, I didn't do that. If a divorced person remarries and he was not scripturally free to remarry, in other words, his wife didn't commit adultery, but he divorced her for other reasons, he cannot engage with another female. That is reasons to go to the back hall. And the elders should be very cautious in extending any special privileges to such an individual. Even after judicial restrictions have been lifted, he can share in the cleaning and the repair of the local kingdom hall.
Are you kidding? But he can't touch the microphones.
He may eventually present student assignments, however.
Student assignments?
He would not be assigned to help with literature accounts, attendance, sound, video, or other similar privileges in the congregation.
They put a really high friggin' standard
for it. As long as the innocent former mate is still alive, unmarried, and has not been guilty of adultery. He can't handle the mics, but he can clean the
toilets.
Now, why don't pedophiles get that same punishment? Because pedophiles eventually can still be elders.
Yeah.
Get out. Child abuse can land you in the B hall. Doesn't mean much will happen afterwards, but you could end up in a judicial committee. It includes the sexual or physical abuse of a minor. It also includes the extreme neglect of a minor by her parent. Child sexual abuse is a perversion and generally includes sexual intercourse with a minor or minor fondling of the genitals, breast, or buttocks, or voyeurism of a minor, indecent exposure to a minor, or soliciting a minor for sexual conduct, sexting, and child pornography. Well, we all know that can land you in the back room, and if you haven't already seen our video review of the Elders Manual and how they managed child sexual abuse.
They don't call the police.
They don't do much of anything. I will put a link down in the description. You can go check that video out. We didn't write it. We just read it.
Toni Morris approved.
Number 14 can land you in the B hall. Gross uncleanliness. Uncleanliness with greediness.
You dirty, greedy person. So you can be... So if you're just dirty and not greedy, you're okay? I think
you're okay.
Okay, so I can be greedy and not dirty. But if you're dirty and greedy... Wow. How do they come up with this amazing information?
This came from Jehovah in the late 1800s.
Wow.
They've changed it quite a bit since then.
No, Jehovah changed it.
Jehovah doesn't change his mind.
Well, according to the governing body, he did.
New light! Okay, so does that mean hoarders? Hoarders can't be Jehovah's Witnesses?
But well, yeah, I hoard.
No, hoard, not whore.
Oh.
Even when practices uncleanliness to a serious degree, it can be grounds for disfellowshipping from the Christian congregation. Elders should use good judgment in discerning the conduct is minor uncleanliness that can be handled by counsel.
How bad do they smell?
Or gross uncleanliness that requires the formation of a judicial committee. Here's the list of what they mean by gross uncleanliness, so I don't think they're talking about hoarders. Oh, we're not. Gross uncleanliness is momentary touching of intimate body parts or caressing of breasts.
Jesus Christ.
If such conduct occurred on a few occasions, especially between two persons involved in a courtship with the intent to marry, counselors from two elders may suffice. But if they continue to do that, that is gross uncleanliness. Oh, I can't. Immoral conversations over the telephone or internet is gross uncleanliness. So they're not talking about physical uncleanliness. Okay. They're talking about, oh, you dirty girl. Here. Get off of me. Oh. Bad baby, bad baby. So I had to take a brief bathroom break. And that's where I do my best thinking. And I have figured out how you can have porneia with lewd intent, manipulating someone else's genitals, and does not require skin-to-skin contact.
I'm ready.
Your innocent little toilet paper roll.
Not so innocent toilet paper
That's what the governing body's talking. What goes on up in Bethel? Viewing abhorrent forms of pornography. Only abhorrent. What did you learn from our pornography video?
Anything with animals or children or people who are gay.
Yeah.
Bisexual.
Yeah.
In moderation, it's okay.
Correct. So, moderate viewing of normal porn that involves man and woman appears to be okay. And if you don't believe us on that, then check out the video we did reviewing the Elders Manual on pornography, and I'll put a link down in the description. You only have to go to the B-hole if you review abhorrent forms of pornography.
I want the A-hole.
I'll remember that for later tonight. Gross uncleanliness are the 3 items we just listed, and it is the misuse of tobacco or marijuana and the abuse of medical, illicit, or addictive drugs.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm so confused.
I'm sorry, what's happening?
Okay.
Misuse of tobacco or marijuana and the abuse of medical, illicit, addictive drugs is also gross uncleanliness. Now, it says misuse of tobacco. What about regular tobacco use? I mean, what if you're using it correctly?
Well, misuse.
I mean, I suppose they mean if you're burning little children with cigarettes, that's a misuse of tobacco. But if you're just smoking, it should be okay then, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I'll stop burning the children with cigarettes.
And now we can get baptized.
Yes.
Elders should use good judgment in weighing the circumstances and extent of the wrongdoing. For example, 1 or 2 elders may handle matters by means of counsel if a Christian, Jehovah's Witness, abused an addictive drug or smoked cigarettes on 1 or 2 occasions and the matter is not widely known. But let's just take a sin, like
Murder.
if you only did it a couple of times.
And not a lot of people knew about it.
Right. Why is that less of a sin?
It's not less of a sin. It's...
So, what their point here to me, and I feel this is a huge point to hit home to everyone who's watching, especially if you're studying with the witnesses or you've never been one, they're not concerned about the sin. Did you cheat on your wife? Did you smoke cigarettes? Did you smoke pot? They're concerned with whether or not it's widely known. It says specifically here, 2 elders might just counsel you if you get caught smoking and not a lot of people know about it. But if a lot of people know about it and you only did it still the 1 or 2 times, but a lot of people know about it, you're going judicial committee. Because it's all about the reputation. It has nothing to do with the sin. It has nothing to do with helping you. It has to do with image and whether or not the congregation, if like 20 people knew about it, think that the elders handled the situation. So if Joe Blow has had sex with 4 girls and not a lot of people know about it, it's probably okay. But if Johnny Smith smoked a cigarette and 5 other kids saw him, they probably wouldn't have told his parents. He's in trouble.
Yeah.
Welcome to the cult.
Yeah.
Well, and if I did not know this, but if medical marijuana is prescribed, they can choose whether or not they want to take that form of treatment. When questions
Don't accept blood, but you can smoke some weed.
And when questions arise, consult the service department. All right. We've moved away from gross uncleanliness and all of that. Sorry to interrupt, but now we're on to extreme physical uncleanliness.
Dirty body.
Now
Yeah.
we're talk about dirty.
Let's get down to the dirt.
Every effort should be made to help the offender see the need to keep his body and place of residence clean.
Look at this floor. You call that clean? Look at that. Do you?
You can go in front of a judicial committee for not being tidy. We get it. Cleanliness is next to godliness.
You always talked about that when you were growing up, how your house had to be spotless, freaking clean.
My mom's got a little OCD in there too.
Yeah.
If nothing else, she was going to make Jehovah proud for having a clean house. I think of situations like this of somebody I know who is not very clean. He does have an odor about him. He is a very, very nice person, but he dresses as if his wife of 60 to 70 years died, and he does not know how to really take care of himself. So you're going to tell me, because that does happen, you're going to tell me they're going to take this dude into a judicial committee because he can't... Sorry. Before judicial action would be considered, the elders need to be certain that the uncleanliness is pronounced and offensive, bringing much reproach upon Jehovah's good name and his people in the community.
And that was it on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 16 can get you into the b-hole. Brazen conduct. Filthiness, but not in the dirty way, but in the dirty way.
Filthy, dirty, bad boy.
Wantonness, unbridled lust, outrageousness, shamelessness, insolence. It violates all bounds of what is socially acceptable. But to say what is socially acceptable...
Yeah.
What is socially acceptable, Jehovah's Witnesses do not consider socially acceptable, so they don't get to make those judgment calls. It is socially acceptable for a man and a woman in the privacy of their bedroom to do whatever the hell they want, but that's not okay to them.
Yeah.
Man, if you ever get pulled in the back room for this, I hope tell them to pull up, these pages aren't numbered, this chapter of the Elder's Manual, and tell them that what they consider socially acceptable and what the world considers socially acceptable is not the same thing. So, 2 elements are involved in brazen conduct. The conduct itself is a serious violation of Jehovah's laws, and the wrongdoer is disrespectful and has an insolent attitude.
Big deal.
This is not an exhaustive list, but this is what brazen conduct can be considered.
Oh, can't wait to hear.
Unnecessary association with disfellowshipped or disassociated individuals.
That's really...
That's brazen conduct. It's
brazen.
Like
your children.
Yeah.
Brazen conduct. And that's the first thing they put up.
So if you continue talking to somebody who was kicked out and is being shunned, if you talk to them, that's brazen conduct. You're getting a judicial committee, and you're probably going to have one new friend when you leave the congregation, get to go now hang out with the one person.
Shit.
And I love this, and here's my side note. If a member of the congregation is known to have unnecessary association with a disfellowshipped person or relatives who are not in the household, so it includes relatives, elders should use the scriptures to counsel and reason with him, and they should review with him information from the Remain in God's Love book. This is not a loving act that they're going to read from you in the Remain in God's Love book. Because a Christian is violating the spirit of this disfellowshipping decree. And, yep, he won't get congregation privileges. Now, if he's a pedophile, he can get those back.
Yeah. But don't talk to your children or your father or your mother or your grandparents because they're disfellowshipped.
And the other item considered brazen conduct is if you date even though you're not scripturally free to remarry. So if my mother started dating...
Yeah.
She's legally divorced, but not scripturally divorced. Brazen conduct. Back room. It's all fun and games until you go into a judicial committee. You can get a judicial committee, a.k.a. B-hole.
Bunch of a-holes.
Drunkenness.
However, the abuse of alcohol is a very serious matter.
A judicial committee is required when there is a practice of drunkenness. So if you're professional at it, you're fine.
Wait.
But if you practice, no.
What? So was Tony Morris brought in to a judicial committee? Because he bought a lot of alcohol.
Was there a second witness?
Yeah.
Like who?
It was on video.
Yeah, but didn't you watch Darrow's video that was completely photoshopped? So it can't be true.
Darrow's a fucking idiot.
That's why everybody's so outraged. Because you can get pulled into the back committee, but one of the members of the governing body can buy hordes of liquor.
Lots.
Tons.
So, a single incident of drunkenness that brings notoriety. So if you have a single episode of drunkenness and only a couple people know about it, you're fine.
You're okay.
But if a lot of people know about it,
You're
you know,
screwed. Yeah.
those elders are going to want to make sure that
You're going into the A-hole.
They're counseling. B-hole. And if an individual confesses to an elder that on one occasion he overindulged at home and nobody knows about it, the elder can just give strong counsel.
Yeah. How do they define? Where's the definition for strong counsel in there?
It's a talking to.
It's like,
a little bit.
Strong counsel.
The next reason that you can get pulled into the back room. Gluttony. Most of you out there are going to be on the same page with me when you can acknowledge that most of the people in the congregation, at least in the congregation, I wouldn't say most, let's go half, I'll be fair. There's a lot of obesity. I need to stop slouching. Why are you letting me slouch?
I'm smacking the back.
Yeah. Ow. That's abuse.
Yeah, but you need a second witness.
There was a lot of obese people who were adults when I was growing up, and a lot of my friends who grew up to continue being witnesses are also obese. So We know for a fact they would lose a good 60% of their membership if they actually were counseling and punishing people. As I said,
I've heard you bring that up in the past.
If they're going to hold you accountable for that, then I think on your time card, when you're putting in how many hours, you need to write your weight up in the corner, and then they can counsel you on your weight. Here's the sad part. They're going to counsel you for being obese and gluttonous. And yet a lot of children who are sexually abused, particularly when it is not managed well, and we know they mismanage child abuse, tend to grow up and become obese.
I've mentioned that I've seen a lot of interviews with, people that became adults, but they were abused when they were much younger, and they intentionally overate to make themselves undesirable to people. So
exactly,
it's sad.
So on the one hand, I'm totally going to make fun of the ridiculousness of this, that 60% of their congregants should probably get disfellowshipped. And on the other hand, it's very sad that the very children they didn't protect as children when they were being abused are likely to tend to grow up to be obese and then get put back into that judicial committee where their perpetrator was mishandled to begin with. Next, stealing and thievery. Okay, obviously.
Yeah, not good.
I'm going to say, Jehovah's Witnesses do like to portray themselves in a very upstanding way of not being liars, cheats, stealers?
Thieves.
Thieves?
Yeah.
Stealers?
No. That's a football.
Yeah, not the team, because that's not allowed either. So yeah, clearly in my home I don't want stealing and thievery either. Deliberate, malicious lying or bearing false witness.
Which is
lying on somebody.
One of the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not bear false witness.
I thought it said thou shalt not bear an ugly child. The 11th commandment.
Yes.
The Lord Jehovah has given unto you these 10 commandments.
And they do point out here that if 2 witnesses are in a court dispute and one of them lies in court, and the other one comes to them and says, hey, this brother lied in court, no, the elders are going to say that's not their jurisdiction. It's up to the court to determine what is truthful. Well, that's nice. They leave it up to the courts when 2 people are having a dispute. It'd be nice if they leave it up to a court when a child's being molested. That'd be nice.
Yeah. They don't have to, because they call the
legal department.
The legal department, yeah.
Reviling. Reviling involves subjecting a person to insulting speech and heaping abuse upon them.
Unless it's a child.
I have never seen that happen, and there are so many stories out there. The same people are like, I was being abused. I was being locked in a basement. I wasn't locked in a basement.
Should have been.
I was bungee corded in my room. The other thing that can get you pulled in the back room, and keep in mind, there's no different levels also for all this stuff. A thief is the same as someone who has insulting speech, which is the same as somebody who gambles, which is the same as somebody who watches child porn. These are all in the same category. It's very black and white. Either you're in or you're out. So yes, if you get caught lying, your repercussions and your committee and everything that happens to you is the same thing that's going to occur with a pedophile. So you are in the same category as a pedophile. Obscene speech. What the fuck?
And I mean, they don't give you any. What is obscene speech?
Shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits.
Obscene speech involves sexually explicit, filthy expressions.
Expressions and speech are 2 different things. I mean,
that's an expression. Well, that was obscene. Well, the way you just did it was obscene.
You can prick your finger, but don't finger your prick. I don't know.
Next, greed, gambling, and extortion. Elders do not generally involve themselves in what an individual does with regard to petty gambling for entertainment purposes. This was very different from when I grew up. When I grew up, you could not so much as get a scratcher ticket.
Yeah.
That's gambling.
It's money that could have gone to Jehovah's organization.
You couldn't even get raffle tickets. You know, when they did a raffle at school, they're like, oh, Mom, we're doing a raffle. Well, we can't do that. That's a form of gambling. Next time she comes,
I'm gonna buy her some.
I'm gonna buy her a scratcher ticket and be like, you can do it, Ma. It's
okay now.
It's petty gambling and it's for entertainment. Refusal to provide for a family. Yeah, that dude should get counsel. I concur. Fits of anger, violence, or domestic violence.
Would that be like...
Ow! That right there, in the secular world, that was domestic abuse.
Yeah. You have a second witness? Ow! Oh!
2 for flinching.
You done broke my dick hand.
Yeah, I agree. People that can't control their anger are not exemplary citizens, but they go a little bit deeper here. I think I told you that we were not allowed to watch football. I don't know if that was everyone's home. God, I need to sit up straight. Ow!
Violence.
And then he hit me. And my back. It hurt real bad.
So you might find this interesting. A Christian who takes up professional boxing and refuses to stop judicial.
That's outrageous. And it's what I'm good at. It's how I feed my family. But you're going to tell me, no, you can't do it?
And then we can counsel you because you refuse to provide for your family after we told you you have to quit your job. They put being a professional boxer in with fits of anger, violence, and domestic violence. Oh, here's a good one that you will definitely get pulled into the bathroom for. Manslaughter. You'll
So fucking stupid.
If you accidentally kill somebody, you're going into the b-hole.
A bunch of a-holes.
They establish evidence of wrongdoing 2 ways. Either a confession or...
2 witnesses.
2 witnesses. No action can be taken if there is only 1 witness. Therefore, we'll go with the example of rape. If you're raped,
anything that they're talking about, if there's 2 witnesses, not 2 witnesses, you're free.
This is why when a child, and I know I use child references a lot because if a child says, my mother's been beating me, the elders will talk to her. And they'll say, have you been beating this child? And she's not going to confess, so she says no.
Yeah.
So they say, I'm sorry, little Johnny. You don't have a second witness.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. But she can still remain a witness. And what should happen is they should be reporting this to the authorities. And they just don't.
Well, yeah, they reported to Bethel. Or what's...
The legal department.
The legal department.
The last reason you can be pulled into a judicial committee, and if this occurs and this describes you, you probably aren't a witness to begin with. Apostasy.
Oh.
Apostasy is a standing away from true worship, a falling away, defection, rebellion, abandonment. And it includes the following. Celebrating false religious holidays. I'll tell you, you throw a couple of fireworks up on 4th of July and celebrate our independence, you're going to a judicial committee. That is completely not allowed. You're an apostate. Participation in interfaith activities, including bowing before altars and images and sharing in false religious songs.
I've been washed in the blood of the Lamb.
Apostate!
Glory, hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah.
Apostate.
No. Yes, Jesus loves me so, for the Bible tells me so.
Apostate. Deliberately spreading teachings contrary to Bible truth. And that is anything outside of the New World Translation of the Holy Scriptures, which is the Bible that Nathan Knorr and Franz and all of them put together.
So basically you can't read anything other than their Bible.
If you cause divisions and you promote sex. Not that sex. This is a deliberate action, disrupting the unity of the congregation and undermining the confidence of the brothers in Jehovah's arrangement. And finally, and employment promoting false religion. If you continue an employment that makes one an accomplice to or a promoter of false worship, you'd be subject to disfellowshipping after being allowed 6 months to make the needed adjustments. So that would be like let's say the Baptist church is looking for an accountant or somebody to manage their books, and you're like, oh, I'm good
an
at
accountant.
That. Yeah, I'm good at managing books, and you get a job with them.
Yeah.
By being employed with the Baptist church, you are employing and promoting another religion, and you've got 6 months to mend your ways, or you are now considered an apostate.
So would that, like, if I worked for, like, made toilets, like how they call them, like the porcelain god, is that not okay?
That's a false idol.
Okay, so you can't make toilets.
All of you out there are more than likely guilty of, with the exception of you Jehovah's Witnesses that are watching, you're not supposed to be watching these videos, but I'll tell you what, I'll put a couple of links down in the description for some other videos you shouldn't watch. But for everyone else, if you are celebrating false holidays, religious holidays, if you're singing songs to the particular religion or of the particular religion you currently belong, if you have a cross around your neck, because that's an altar and an image, deliberately spreading teachings contrary to the New World Translation of the Holy Scriptures, Jude 3. If you're causing division that undermines the confidence of Jehovah's Witnesses brothers, and if you work for a church, you may now officially consider yourself an apostate. That's a pretty extensive list of don'ts. What can you do?
You can do nothing.
What can you do?
Sit there and be quiet.
You can watch soft porn.
You
can eat cake in small servings.
You can masturbate in the same room with another man.
I think if you guys use these so you're not touching each other, pretty much anything under the sun, they can get you for.
Yeah.
And that's why I said from the beginning, because they require a second witness, if you get pulled into that back room, admit nothing. So I'm thinking of picking up a copy of Young People Ask, one of my favorite books from when I was a child, because if I recall...
You don't have a copy of that?
No. If I recall, there's a lot of ridiculousness in there, and I thought that I would share some of these. How to be a good Jehovah's Witness kid with this guy right here.
I'm ready.
I'm going to make an elder out of you yet.
Be a damn good elder. Hold those women down. No education. Menial labor. Second witness.
I'm sorry, I just talked in front of you without having a head covering on. All right, you guys, that's all we have for you today. During this next week, will go online. It drives my mother nuts every time I tell her I'm buying a Jehovah's Witness Watchtower Bible and Tract Society publication online. She's mortified. They're selling them, but the society gives them away for free. Well, give me a copy and I wouldn't have to buy one. So we'll be working on that next. And until then, I'll see you next time.
I'm on the television.